Hello YouTube, it's Championdjk coming at you with another 10 Car Tuesday episode. And we are going to look at the Hot Ones. This was basically kind of like a what do you want to call it? A retro style sort of series, I guess. These came out like 2011, 2012. And I think that was it, just 2 years or so. Various different castings, but a really cool series that had kind of a retro feel to them. And we're going to take a look at 10 of those. Well, actually 9 of those. But first, before we do that, we're going to look at the original Hot Ones. Just one car here. So this was an original, the Hot Ones. Metal flake paint with the Hot Ones wheels. So that was the big deal right there. Hot Ones wheels. They used a skinnier axle or a thinner axle. They're supposed to be very, very fast. This one's copyright date 1982, so it probably came out in 1983. There it is, Corvette Stingray. Let's go ahead and free it from its packaging. It was 99 cents at Walgreens back in the day. That's pretty crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and take it out and take a peek. So we have something. This will be our basis for comparison, I guess, for the newer series of Hot Ones, which is already now over 7 years old. So yeah, time's a flying. All right, so this is very, very nicely done. It's got a metal flake red paint. It is metal on metal, Malaysia base. You can see right there. This is one of the cooler castings, one of the cooler Corvette castings that have ever come out. Is this Corvette Stingray? It is a nice one. The paint looks just fantastic on this thing. The Hot Ones wheels. I've always liked the Hot Ones wheels. They're pretty cool. It almost feels like the car has a little bit of suspension to it because the axles are thinner and they kind of bend easy, but they bounce back from bending. So very, very nice little car. And that's the first car that we're going to take a look at today. Moving on from that, we'll take a look at this Lotus Esprit. So here's the Lotus Esprit. First of all, the card art is somewhat similar to the old style one. It's got the same colors and stuff like that. Here's kind of what the back of it looks like. I don't really want to adjust the camera to get a better look at it, but there's the back of the old one. Lightning fast, non-powered diecast metal racers, the Hot Ones. So let's go ahead and open it up. So it does have similar wheels to the original. Similar packaging to the originals. They obviously used some castings that weren't out when it was originally out, including this Lotus Esprit right here that we're looking at. This casting in particular debuted in 2002 as a mainline model. It was used quite a few times from 2002 up until when it was released here. And then it was also been seen a few times since in 5-packs. But a cool casting nonetheless. I like this Lotus Esprit. And this one does have a metal base, metal body. It may have been the only release that came out of this car that actually has an all-metal construction. But it's really cool in this gold Hot Ones. I think that's a cool release for sure. And this actually might be slightly different than the other Lotus Esprit Turbo casting. I'm not sure. I think this is the same one. What's the copyright date on this? 2001. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. It was in the 2002 mainline was the first release of it, so in gold. What do you think about that one? I like that one. All right, very cool. Next one we're going to go through is this one right here, the 1984 Hurst Olds. Who doesn't like this casting? So this actually debuted in this series, this tooling. It's Hurst Olds. So 2012, this was a new model that was put out for the Hot Ones series in 2012. Pretty cool. So since then, it's been seen in the Boulevard series in 2013, Cool Classics in 2014, and then we got to see it in the Retro Style series at Target in 2016. And I don't recall in the Retro Style series, and someone will let me know in the comments, does the Retro Style series version of this car, does it have a metal base? It might. I just don't remember if it does or not. All the previous releases of this car would have a metal base. I think I don't have the Boulevard one, I don't think, and I don't have the Cool Classics ones, and I think I would like to have both of those. And then I would have them all. So it hasn't been released but a few times, and it is a really cool casting. It's just one of those ones that's, so far since it's been released, it really never hit the main line, and it's been released in a few different cool releases. So that makes me think that it did have a metal base in the Retro Style series, but I could be way wrong. But that is a sweet little car too. I love these Hot Ones. I was going to keep these, I don't know, carded originally. I was going to try to get them a bunch and keep them carded, but they're just so cool. Cadillac Seville. This is an older casting or an older tooling. It may have been retooled for this series, but it originated in 1982. And there's one way we can tell if it's been retooled or not. It does say copyright date 1980 and then copyright date 2011 Mattel. So yes, it was probably a retool. Which I imagine they throw out the tools and replace them and stuff like that. They probably don't last all that long. But this Cadillac Seville, since it debuted in 1982, it's had a handful of 80s releases and then wasn't brought out again until this series came out, and has not, as far as I know, been brought out since. Which is kind of a shame. I'd like to see it again. I'm surprised we didn't see it show up in Retro Style series. Maybe because it's got a huge chunky metal base, and quite possibly that just might be too expensive to produce for that series. And I don't know what other series they would throw it into. But it's just a nice looking Hot Wheel, and it looks just like the classic Cadillac. And I like it quite a bit. I think that's a pretty neat car. So, yeah, that's a cool one. All right. And then moving on from that, we get a Buick Grand National. All right, so this casting's pretty cool too. This casting came out in 2007 in the main line is when it originated, and it's been out actually quite a few times. It's had Modern Classics releases. It's had a few different releases. They since have closed this hood, so it does not open anymore. And this is actually held on by a rubber band, so we're going to try to remove that quick, because the whole front of the car actually does come off, as you can see. So it's held on in the packaging by a rubber band. Go ahead and put it back on. There you go, much better. And it looks okay. Not the greatest color scheme for this car in this yellow metal flake. It's not quite, it's gold, I guess. Probably looks more gold on camera than it really looks in person. Definitely looks a lot more red or yellow. So anyway, yeah, been released a few times. Modern Classics, Mainlines, Boulevard series it was in, which I have the Boulevard version of this. This is probably the coolest version. And some Fast and Furious series, Mainline style series. And then it was recently in the 50th Throwback series at Target. So with the closed hood, the hood is now one piece of this. I actually prefer that because you can see the gap there. It doesn't look all that awesome. But this one does have a metal base, metal body. It's a heavy casting on Hot Ones wheels, and it still looks pretty good. So pretty cool. All right, next one we're going to take a look at is the 80s Pontiac Firebird. This is a casting that I collect. It debuted in 1983. It's been used a ton of times all throughout. Most of these, okay, have plastic bases. I think this one actually has a metal base. Yes, it does. Okay, so most of these have plastic bases. Like even the old school 80s Firebird casting has a plastic base. And I'm looking at it right now. Yep, okay, so you can tell since it says copyright date 1982 and then copyright date of 2010, made in Thailand. This was retooled likely for this series, okay? So, and I think since this series, you've seen it here, and then it also came out again in with a metal base in the Road Trippin' series that was in Walmart. And I don't know if there's been any other releases aside from that. But it is a really cool casting. It's a cool tooling. Lots of different variations of this to collect. Like I said, most of these have plastic bases. which is interesting. The retro ones actually have plastic bases, and the newer ones that they retooled or whatever for this particular series, they gave it a metal base. From what I gather, everything in this Hot Ones series does have metal base. It's an all-metal casting with these Hot Ones wheels. Just a really cool series. And to be honest, I mean, the prices of these cars are not going down. They're like, some of these are actually pretty tough to get, and they can go get up there in price. They're not super expensive, but they're moving. So this is a really cool release. I'm really glad to have this. I think I picked this up at the Hot Wheels Nationals. I finally grabbed one of these. I found it at a cheap price, and I scooped it up. So very cool Firebird. That might be actually my favorite variation of this casting. Is this one right here. Just really nice. Really nice. All right. And might be my favorite one of the video. Maybe. This one's pretty cool too. This is the 1985 Honda CRX. This one debuted in this series. This is the series debut. This is the first release of this Honda CRX. Was in this Hot One series. It's got a metal base. It's got a two-part. The interior is actually this chrome bit that's actually chrome in the interior and on the side of the car. So it's got an interesting construction that it would since lose. They've retooled it again with a all-metal body and a plastic base. It's got the lens detail for the headlights. This one's got ultra Hot Wheels, which is a nice touch actually for this car. So this was a Hot Ones debut. Then it was seen in the Boulevard series. Then in the Cool Classics. Then it made it to the mainline in 2016, and that's when it lost its metal base, except for to get it back for the Car Culture Modern Classics. So there's two versions of the tooling. So there's this version and there's the other version. They're both technically still in service because we did just see this tooling in Car Culture with all metal. You know, with the metal base, metal body. So this is a neat car. I've had this thing for a long, long time, and I'm glad finally to free it from the packaging. Very cool. I dig it. Just wild looking with that chrome. But I think it looks very, very neat. I just really like the styling on this series. The art on the car, the graphics on the cars, just that classic look. They look really, really well done. Including this one here. This is the Long Gone semi-truck casting, which the old school Long Gone debuted in 1983. And I think it had a couple of different variations back in the day, and then they retooled it for this series, the Hot Ones. So it was seen in the Hot Ones in 2012, and then it was in the Boulevard series. Then it got an RLC Selections piece, and it was in Pop Culture. And then again in the RLC is the Gold Rush, I think is what it was, the Long Gone. Also went by the casting name The Long Shot. But here it is down here. You can see there 1982 and then 2011. Pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Again, love the retro kind of look to the graphics. Very kind of 70s-ish. All these cars are. And just looks great. My only gripe about this one is I kind of wish they would have made this grille look chrome instead of gray for the front end, but it is what it is. It just looks kind of off going from the metal to that gray color. Heavy casting though. Really cool though. All right, last two are going to be Ferraris. And starting with this one, the Ferrari F40. This thing's sweet. I think I got this from I think I got it from Heavy Metal 164. Maybe. But this one can be a tough one to grab. It's an old school casting. Well, not that old school. It's been around since, when was that? 1989. It's had a ton of releases. There's a lot of different variations of this car, and I've kind of tried to go after all of them. There are definitely a few that are going to be tougher than others. It is all metal. There is a retool of this casting that closes the back, so you don't have this opening back anymore, which actually honestly is really good because it just doesn't sit very well, doesn't close very well, and it never really did. I mean, it got worse as the years went on. That gap got bigger and bigger and bigger as the years wore on that tooling, but it never really did look all that great, to be honest. It's just an F40, so I like it. But so they since have closed this back, and the last time it was released, I think it was in a 5-pack or something. I think it was a 5-pack, yeah, with the closed rear. And I don't think it's been released since then because they lost the Ferrari license. But I know the tooling's still around and alive, so if they do get the license back, you will see some F40s, I'm sure. You'll see them with the back closed, not an opening back anymore. Which, like I said, you're probably better off with that. It's one of the sloppier opening parts in Hot Wheels history. But I do like the deco. I think it looks fantastic. Normally I'm not a fan of a blue Ferrari, but this thing, it works. I think it looks pretty wild, but yet somewhat tasteful. So I like it. And then lastly, this one's awesome. This is the Ferrari GTO. This is the GTO that debuted in the 2008 mainline. Since we've seen it in the Ferrari Racers series and in a Hot Wheels Garage series with a few variations there, and then in a 5-pack, and then the Hot Ones. It had 2 releases in the Hot Ones series. I should also tell you that there are chase versions of some of these cars. I don't know if they did it throughout the whole series, but I know the ones in 2012 came out with like chase versions that have Hot Ones written on the tires. I don't know if they did that for 2011 or not. They may have. But this looks awesome. Even with that yellow window, it just works. But again, all metal. Just a beautiful car. The graphics, I think, look great on it. I mean, it's stylish. It's got a nice look to it. That's really nice. Real nice. All right. So that's it. And that's car number 10 for this 10 Car Tuesday episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've been waiting to open these cars for a long time, so I am glad to finally have them loose. I can go ahead and display them. And I just really like this retro style Hot Wheel series, the Hot Ones. And I think it probably was somewhat of a sleeper when it originally came out. You know, these don't have rubber tires, right? So, but I don't care. I mean, they look good like this. Really cool. So let me know down in the comments below which one was your favorite of these 10 cars, including the old school one right here. And just to give you an idea, I mean, that fits right in with these cars. It really is. It could have been released at the same time in 2011, 2012. And it would fit in just great. And the same with these other cars, you know, if they had been, you know, some of the cars are obviously newer than the 1982 or whatever. If they were released in that old series, they would fit in as well. So they did a really good job making this kind of a coherent series. Now, there were a lot of fantasy castings and stuff like that in the series, so it's not going to be a series that I would collect all of. But they really kind of did a good job, I think, of replicating kind of what it was like to collect a year of Hot Wheels back in the day. So that's what I think. All right, so that's it, guys. That's it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. All that good stuff helps me out, and I really appreciate it. You can also visit my sponsor, masscardisplays.com. Enter the promo code CHAMPION. Get yourself some cases at 10% off. Have a great day.